Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of caution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. India's total vaccination coverage crosses 5 crore doses. Genome sequencing shows new variants of coronavirus in India. Fitch revises India's GDP growth estimate to 12.8%, riding on swift recovery from the lockdown-induced recession. Competition Commission of India orders probe into WhatsApp's new privacy policy. Counting of votes proceeds in Israel. Early results show a closely fought election for the new Prime Minister of Israel. Germany reverses plans to extend coronavirus restrictions till April 18th after backlash. And in shooting, Indian shooters Chinky Yadav and Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar win gold medals at ISSF World Cup in New Delhi. India has scaled a significant milestone in its nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive. The Union Health Secretary informed that till 10 a.m. on Wednesday, over 5 crore 8 lakh doses of vaccines have been administered to the beneficiaries. He said 20 states and union territories have administered the first dose of COVID vaccine to more than 92% of the healthcare workers, while 14 states and UTs have given the second dose to more than 85% of the eligible healthcare workers. Speaking about the recent surge in COVID cases, Mr. Rajesh Bhushan said that 2 states, Maharashtra and Punjab, are of grave concern, which have shown a recent surge in the new cases. The genome sequencing by the Indian SARS-CoV-2 Consortium on Genomics, INSA-CoG, has shown variants of concern and a novel variant in India. The INSA-CoG is a grouping of 10 national laboratories. It was established by the Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry on the 25th of December last year, and since then they are carrying out genomic sequencing and analysis of circulating COVID-19 viruses and correlatal epidemiological trends with genomic variants. The ministry said genomic variants of various viruses are a natural phenomenon and are found in almost all the countries. Since INSA-CoG initiated its work, 771 variants of concerns have been detected in a total of 10,787 positive samples shared by states and the union territories. These include 736 samples positive for viruses of the UK lineage. 34 samples were found positive for viruses of the South African lineage, and 1 sample was found positive for viruses of the Brazilian lineage. The samples with these variants of concerns have been identified in 18 states of the country. Genome sequencing and analysis have been carried out on samples from arriving international travelers, contacts of those positive for variants of concerns, and community samples from most of the states. The ministry said genomic sequencing and epidemiological studies are continuing to further analyze the situation.
The President of Guyana has thanked the government and the people of India for the 80,000 doses of India-made Covishield vaccine supplied to the country under the Vaccine Maitri initiative.
As President, I wish to thank Prime Minister Modi and the people of India for their kind donation of 80,000 vaccines to us. Indeed, this generosity speaks to a government and a people that are committed to the welfare and well-being of humanity. Prime Minister Modi has demonstrated through his own management of COVID, this pandemic, great responsibility not only for India but globally.
In another development, the first cargo from new oil producer Guyana departed this month to India. Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel reversed a plan on Wednesday for an extended Easter holiday shutdown. Germany had on Tuesday announced an extension of the coronavirus restrictions till the 18th of April to try stem a third wave of the coronavirus pandemic. However, Ms. Merkel reversed the decision and apologized for hastily made plans after it triggered a fierce backlash, according to reports. The Dutch government is extending the coronavirus lockdown measures by 3 weeks until April 20th. Newly elected Prime Minister Mark Rutte made the announcement on Tuesday. The US President Joe Biden has announced on Tuesday that the country will have 600 million doses of coronavirus vaccine available by the end of May. This amount would be enough to inoculate every US citizen. Hong Kong and Macau have suspended the use of the BioNTech Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine after being informed of defective packaging with a batch of vials. Meanwhile, Bangladesh reported a spike in COVID-19 cases on the second consecutive day, with 3,567 new cases detected on Wednesday. This is the second highest single-day infection since the 2nd of July. Nishit Kumar for World News.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
The Competition Commission of India on Wednesday ordered a probe into the new privacy policy of WhatsApp. In a suo motu order on the updated terms of service and privacy policy for WhatsApp users, the antitrust watchdog said that WhatsApp has prima facie contravened the Competition Act 2000. The order says that WhatsApp, through its exploitative and exclusionary conduct in the garb of policy update, violated the provisions of Section 4 of the said Act. It added that the conduct of WhatsApp and sharing of users' personalized data with other Facebook companies in a manner that is neither fully transparent nor based on voluntary and specific user consent appears prima facie unfair to the users. The order goes on to state that the take it or leave it terms by the messaging platform prima facie appear unfair and unreasonable for WhatsApp users. American credit rating agency Fitch has revised India's GDP growth estimate to 12.8% for the next fiscal from the previous 11% on the back of a stronger carryover effect, a looser fiscal stance and a better virus containment. The rating agency, in its latest Global Economic Outlook, GEO, anticipates the level of the country's GDP to remain well above its pre-pandemic forecast trajectory. Fitch also expects GDP growth to ease to 5.8% in the fiscal year 2023. In a report, it said India's recovery from the depths of the lockdown-induced recession in the second quarter of 2020 has been swifter than expected. GDP surpassed its pre-pandemic level in the fourth quarter of the current fiscal. It also added that high-frequency indicators point to a strong start to 2021. The Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, remained elevated in February, while the pickup in mobility and a rise in the services PMI point to further gains in the services sector.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that India desires cordial relations with the people of Pakistan, and for this an environment of trust devoid of terror and hostility is imperative. On the occasion of National Day of Pakistan on 23rd March, Mr. Modi wrote a letter to Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, on Monday to extend best wishes to the neighbouring country. Prime Minister Modi also conveyed his best wishes to Imran Khan and the people of Pakistan for dealing with the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic. Early results from Israel's election shows another stalemate. According to reports, with more than half of the votes counted by Wednesday morning, the Likud party of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was clearly leading with a quarter of all votes. The opposition leader, Yair Lapid, had less than 15% votes. However, Netanyahu and Lapid will also need to convince rival parties in the Knesset, Israel's parliament, to join them to form a majority government. That prospect appeared in doubt for both the leaders, suggesting a potential extension of the 2-year deadlock and even an unwanted fifth election.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay an official state visit to Bangladesh on the 26th and the 27th of March on the invitation of Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina. The visit comes at a momentous time in the bilateral ties when Bangladesh is celebrating the 50th anniversary of its liberation war. Addressing a media briefing, Foreign Secretary Harsh Vardhan Shringla said India had lent its full support to this noble cause in which Indian soldiers sacrificed their lives too. Both the nations are commemorating 50 years of establishment of diplomatic ties. It is also the year of commemoration of the 100th birth anniversary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman.
The visit comes at a momentous time in our bilateral ties. Bangladesh is celebrating the 50th anniversary of its liberation war. India had lent its full support to this noble cause in which Indian soldiers also sacrificed their lives. Both countries are commemorating 50 years of the establishment of diplomatic ties this year. India, as you're aware, was one of the first countries to recognize Bangladesh in 1971.
Bangladesh is celebrating Mujib Varsh this year to commemorate the birth centenary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. A report from Akashvani Maitri, Kolkata.
Bangladesh is celebrating Mujib Varsh this year to commemorate the birth centenary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. This year also marks 50 years of independence of Bangladesh as well as 50 years of Indo-Bangla relations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Dhaka on March 26, 2021 to participate in the functions on the occasion. Back in India also, various functions have been organized throughout the year. Dr. Anindo Jyoti Majumdar, expert international relations, spoke on Indo-Bangla relations in 50 years in brief.
50 years is not a very long time in bilateral relations between states, but for the people living today across the borders, it is important as it marks a milestone in peaceful coexistence and friendly cooperation. The relations between India and Bangladesh have been marked by occasional ups and downs, very natural for two independent states that might have differences of opinion on issues like border security, water sharing or infiltration. But on the whole, economic and cultural links have taken the upper hand. Connectivity has improved and export of corona vaccine has given a new dimension to the relationship. I feel that the relations are now mature and are based on each other's needs and requirements. This may help us to avoid frictions in future and build on this platform of understanding a deeper and better relationship. Prime Minister Modi's visit to Bangladesh will definitely contribute to this process.
For World News, Shushmita Mondul from Kolkata.
In today's Hotspot section, Prasar Bharati special correspondent Rajesh Jha is in conversation with Dr. Gauhar Rizvi, International Affairs Advisor to Bangladesh Prime Minister, in an exclusive interview.
Today, we will be talking about the various aspects of India-Bangladesh relations in the context of the forthcoming visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to take part in the birth centenary celebrations of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib, the Golden Jubilee celebration of the liberation of Bangladesh, and the 50 years of the establishment of diplomatic ties between India and Bangladesh. Let me begin by asking you about the current status of the India-Bangladesh relations and the challenges you see and the prospects of the relations in the near future.
This is an extraordinary happy occasion, not only for Bangladesh, because while we celebrate the centenary of Bangabandhu's birthday, we are also remind ourselves of the historic role that the people, government, and the armed forces of India played during our liberation war. So in all-round way, while we call it our centenary celebration, I want to emphasize that in many respects, it is our joint celebration. When you ask me about the relationship between the two countries, in a way, Bangladesh and India relationship is the most natural relationship and necessary relationship that you can imagine. We have a shared history, shared culture, language, and with this shared experience, coupled with India's historic assistance to us in 1971. It's a sort of a bond that few countries can proclaim. So in that respect, our good relation is not a question to ponder.
It is indeed true, sir, that the relationship between India and Bangladesh is a story of a glorious relationship that is rooted in the 1971 joint sacrifice of both the countries. But any great relationship needs to be nurtured and energized as the realities of the world changes. So in the last 50 years, much water has flown through the Ganges, through the rivers, and the relationship needs to be energized and given new impetus. What do you think are the areas in which the relationship needs to be energized and given strength?
You know, following the assassination of the father of the nation in 1975, it was followed by a period of more than 2 decades of either military or military-backed regime. During that period, it is true that Bangladesh-India relations had become frosty. But if you exclude that period, and of course, I must say it is a long period and it has still left some of its legacies are there. The period 1972 to 1975 was the closest period during which India and Bangladesh worked together. And the confidence that we had in each other was demonstrated that the Indian army which came to help and liberate Bangladesh left within months at the request of Bangabandhu. Just shows how much confidence the two countries had. Bangabandhu started establishing relations with India all across the board, from trade to borders to investment, exchange of goods. And that very constructive period, which was very important for our formative phase, was disrupted, as I said, in 1975. However, our current Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, when she came to power for the second time in 2009, in the first government in 1996, she very amicably resolved the Ganges problem, which had been persisting between the two countries, not from 71, but right from 1947, from Pakistan era. And our Prime Minister, with the help with the Indian government, found a solution which is mutually beneficial. And that agreement is still working very effectively. With her return to power in 2009, she made India as her priority. And her instructions to us were, we want to resolve all issues across the board. And that's precisely what happened. We have resolved the problem of enclaves, exchange of enclaves, which was persisting since 1947. We now have a trading relationship with India where Bangladesh can export duty-free, quota-free, almost all goods except alcohol and arms to India. We have resolved all our lingering border area demarcation problems. We have solved adverse possession problem. The Teen Biga issue has now resolved forever. And we have then started building up relationship in a genuine interdependence sense. Because if you look at India and Bangladesh, our economy is shaped by our geography. We have a shared border of 2,400 kilometers. We depend on each other, we benefit from each other, and it is a mutually beneficial relationship. We are both looking to find our place with economic development, our place in the world. And to achieve that, we need to work together.
One of the recent studies by the World Bank, which says that despite the fact that India-Bangladesh trade has grown substantially and currently around $9 billion of trade between the two countries, yet there is an unrealized potential, according to the World Bank estimate, of $10 billion between the two countries. That there is a possibility that improved connectivity between the two countries, the trade could go up by $10 billion. What are the things that you think both countries should be doing?
Rajesh ji, not only I agree with the findings of the World Bank, I would like to say 10 billion trade is an underestimate. The potentials are huge. What has already happened, duty-free export to Bangladesh, our export to India is picking up. Although it is true that balance of trade is largely in favor of India. There we would argue that while it is one indicator we should be aware of, there are many ways in which we can overcome that. And one of the easiest ways that we are doing is encouraging Indians to invest in Bangladesh, using our large labor pool, skilled, semi-skilled labor force, extremely disciplined workforce, to use Bangladesh as a manufacturing base and then importing it duty-free into India for the Indian market. It benefits both sides and further enhance cooperation. And you are absolutely right about connectivity. If I were to say, what is the flagship policy of our Prime Minister? From day one, she made regional, sub-regional connectivity as her priority. We have opened up our frontiers. We have allowed India to link with Northeast through our territory. We are opening up all those linkages, railway, road that has been disrupted during the Indo-Pakistan War of 1965. Those are being restored. We are trading in power. We are buying electricity from India. We have developed coastal shipping between the two countries. We have opened up our inland rivers so that ships can go to the different parts of Bangladesh. So all these things added together, coupled with expansion of Bangladesh's own industrial base, we should be able to take advantage of the huge Indian market of nearly 1.4 billion people.
Indeed, the possibilities of trade between India and Bangladesh are huge, and being so closely placed and geographically, I think, linked together, the possibilities are huge, and we are only realizing those potentials just now, and I can see that in the near future things would go up. I would like to ask you one related question, sir. Recently, Bangladesh has graduated from the LDC status, and in the coming 5 years or so, it would be coming out of the LDC status. How do you think it is going to affect the trade relations between India and Bangladesh, in the sense that certain concessions, etc., that are available now between countries and certain agreements that may be in place between the two countries? What do you think is going to be the impact of this?
We are celebrating double graduation, LDC to developing, and also from lower income to middle income. This is a huge achievement. Huge achievement not only economically, but it is also in terms of dignity. We feel very proud to tell the world that many countries, many leaders of the world had written off Bangladesh from the possibility of economically surviving. It was a question of eternal dependence. Let me just tell you, in 1972, we needed almost 100% of our development budget was either development assistance or loan. Today, 95% of our development budget comes from our own resources. We have still about 5% of development assistance, but given our economic vibrancy, we can now access loans from multilateral lending bodies. We can borrow money from international capital market. So in many senses, we are no longer dependent as we were on special or privileged access to market. Our economies, our industries, our exports have become competitive. And in a way, all this is going to do for us is to make us try to be more competitive. And with competition, our quality, our product, our own ability to supply will also improve. I also should say, this does not in any way impact Bangladesh-India relations. Change of status is more to do with EU, with North America and other countries of the world. As far as India is concerned, we have this very special relationship of duty-free access to the Indian territory, and at the same time, as our capacity develops, as our own industrial expansion takes place, from being a predominantly agricultural society in 1971-72, today we are largely a trading country, and that's where we will be heading in the years to come.
That is something very important that you're talking about. Going back to the earlier thing that you suggested, sir, about the need for Indian investment coming to Bangladesh. I know that recently an Indian company has announced that it will be investing in the making of electric vehicles in Bangladesh. There are a couple of big power projects running in Bangladesh and a few other things. What are the areas where you think Indian investment can come profitably for both the countries and invest?
I would like to talk about both Indian investment in Bangladesh and also joint Indo-Bangladesh ventures. As I said, Bangladesh offers an ideal opportunity for Indian investors to manufacture goods for domestic consumption in India. Indian investment will come. And as you said, we have powered some of your top industries have invested in the field of power, textile, garments, as you said, electric car manufacturing, batteries, in any number of things where India has advantage. What is also very interesting is, while a lot of Indian managers are helping us in our management of our factories, etc. Likewise, not well known that Bangladeshi companies are helping manage in some of the Indian ports. Because We have a lot of experience in that area. We have always been a riverine society. Much of the ships that ply between India and Bangladesh are Bangladeshi ships. So we also have a way in which we can contribute to enhancing trade. The transshipment from Athauda to Agartala is enormously opening up for Indian market. At the same time, it is opening up Bangladeshi market. But going forward are the real opportunities. Those have to be created. They don't exist immediately. We need to create those opportunities through strategic planning and strategic investment. We need to look at the comparative advantage of each country, each society, and then decide where to invest. I have already talked about the labor comparative advantage of Bangladesh. Today, none of our factories can complain about want of regular power supply. Our roads, ports, and rails are improving. And India is playing a magnificent role through its line of credit in helping us to build some of these infrastructure. Most recently, we had the bridge, Moitri Setu. This shows you how we are opening up. We have allowed free transit in every direction. India has also come forward. It has agreed that power trade can take place and power can come from Bhutan to Bangladesh through India without interruption. There are huge possibilities of developing hydroelectricity power in Northeast India. But if you produce electricity in Northeast India, there is no demand for it. The demand is elsewhere in India. And the only way that India can evacuate the power that it generates in Northeast India is through Bangladesh. That is where we talk about joint venture opportunities. We would also like to invest in those joint ventures so that we are also assured. We are already working very well advanced in a tripartite power project between India, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. We will jointly develop it and then we will buy back according to our needs. We need to develop an integrated communication system. We need to make all our rivers navigable so ships can ply without any problem. So by developing this infrastructure, we will fully benefit from our proximity.
Thank you, Dr. Gohar Rizvi, for talking extensively about so many issues of the relationship between India and Bangladesh. Thank you, sir.
In sports, Indian shooters swept the medals with Chinky Yadav and Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar winning gold medals at ISSF World Cup in New Delhi on Wednesday. Chinky Yadav won the gold medal in women's 25 meters pistol event. Earlier, Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar won the gold medal in men's 50 meters rifle 3 positions event. The 20-year-old became the youngest in the history to win a shooting World Cup gold in the 3 positions event.
The 24th of March every year is observed as the World Tuberculosis Day. On the occasion, we are joined by SERB Women Excellence Awardee Dr. Shobna Kapoor, who explains her research, which has the potential to find a cure to the problem of drug resistance.
The intrinsically fluid nature of lipid membranes prevent real-time corrections to restore membrane structure and hence functions. Thus, lipid and membrane properties that can be pharmacologically targeted are highly sought after anti-infective strategy that are less likely to generate resistance and hence known as resistance-free approaches. For example, when you target a bacterial lipid membrane rather than a protein, the bacteria does not know how to restore its survival. This is mainly because the number of changes that are needed in the genetic makeup to restore membrane functions which have been hampered by the drug are higher in number than those needed to change a protein. Thus, by the time the bacteria is still figuring it out, this infective strategy to target and modulate membrane structure would actually prove beneficial as any living cell needs an intact membrane to be alive.
A quick look at the headlines once again. India's total vaccination coverage crosses 5 crore doses. Genome sequencing shows new variants of coronavirus in India. Fitch revises India's GDP growth estimate to 12.8%, riding on swift recovery from lockdown-induced recession. Competition Commission of India orders probe into WhatsApp's new privacy policy. Counting of votes proceeds in Israel. Early results show a closely fought election for the new Prime Minister. Germany reverses plans to extend coronavirus restrictions till April 18th after backlash. And in shooting, India's Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar creates history by becoming the youngest to win gold at the men's 50-meter rifle 3 positions event at the IISF World Cup in Delhi. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.